back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys! So I'm here today to review two books that are part of the same series, but they are a standalone series, so you can start in this series with any of the books. There are 3 currently out and this is the second and third. So the books I want to talk to you about are the new Emma Newman Planetfall books. The first of those is After Atlas, this is the second in the series, and the next one is Before Mars, which is the third in the series. I absolutely love Emma Newman. If you've watched my channel for a while, you'll know that her Split World series is one of my all-time favourites. I reviewed Planetfall, the first one in this series, sometime last year. Really enjoyed that one too. And this is her science fiction adult series that is just completely blowing me away, because I find science fiction to be a bit hit or miss, but these books, they're all hits. They're so good. So what about this series makes it so good? I think for me it's the fact that this is a really human-based series. We have space adventure, so it is sci-fi, and we've also got a lot of new technology, so again it's definitely sci-fi and futuristic. But with that being said, it focuses on the humans, the human element, the human aspect, what it means to be human, and some of the struggles and problems that people face whilst they are dealing with various things in their lives. Stuff that crops up, things that are emotionally draining, and we follow many different characters over the course of this series. This particular book, After Atlas, focuses in on Carlos, who is an investigator. He is actually someone who is owned by the company that he works for, which is quite rare in this world, but it is something that does happen. And he is therefore trying to pay off his debt to this company by working cases for them, investigating, finding out who did what, essentially. Kind of like a police officer, but in a more modern, futuristic world. And we follow him as he is kind of just going about his daily life until his commander-in-chief comes to him and says that she has a case for him. He has to take it because it's to do with his past and no one else is able to do this job. And his past is all to do with a religious cult called the Circle that he was part of growing up with his father. And we follow him as he kind of goes and investigates the death of the leader of this cult. It's unsure about quite how things happened. It happened in a hotel, so he goes there and he's visiting this hotel and he's going to stay there and investigate. And we follow him as he kind of tries to find out what happened, but also who did it, and also how all of this will relate to his own life, his own personal life. He thought he'd managed to make a clean breakaway from this past that was quite haunting and terrifying for him. And he hasn't. He's still going to be connected to this. So not only does he have the problem of paying off his debt, he also has the problem of trying to forget about his past whilst dealing with a case that very much brings all of it back up in his mind. He also has an artificial intelligence implanted into his brain, and this is what he uses to kind of bounce ideas off, to investigate the crime scene. The way that Emma Newman uses new technologies in her books is really, really interesting, and it's all stuff that could be possible, and maybe it's even on the cusp of being brought in, but a lot of it is really, really cool, like 3-dimension kind of scanning is able to recreate the crime scene, things like that, and it's a really, really cool way of looking at investigations. I'm not personally someone who reads a lot of crime books because I find them a little bit dull, but when you bring in futuristic sci-fi technology to those crime books, I'm definitely there. And this was a fast-paced, really easy read. Something I found an instant connection to was the characters, but also just the world in general drew me in. I do think the story is really solid, and there were some twists I wasn't anticipating and things that I really, really enjoyed seeing. So for me, this was a fantastic read, and of course I gave this one a super solid 5 stars. I absolutely love this. Moving on then to the final one in the series for the moment, although I hope there will be more coming, and this is Before Mars, again by Emma Newman. This one focuses on a young woman who is called Anna Kubrin, and she is known as a geologist and an artist. She has a husband, she has a child, she's kind of going through the motions of everything that mothers are expected to do, working hard, raising her family, but she then gets an offer from a very, very rich corporation where she can go up to Mars and she can paint on Mars and create pictures and images of Mars using authentic Mars rock. And so she takes up this commission. It's about 6 months for her to fly alone in a spaceship all the way up to Mars, and when she gets there she kind of meets the crew and gets immersed with them. So that's the beginning of her story, but of course there is an awful lot more to it than just that. Anna herself is a really interesting character because she is suffering from postnatal depression. She never really wanted to be a mother, and she finds it very difficult to deal with the fact that she has a daughter and someone reliant on her. She completely loves her daughter, but she finds it very hard to kind of reconcile the fact that it's her daughter and that she never really wanted one, but she's ended up with one. There was a lot of depression and sadness after she gave birth, and there was a lot of stuff that she didn't really deal with properly at the time. She didn't really seek much help about it or get much help from her husband about it, and so she feels very upset about many of these issues. And while she is alone in the spaceship travelling up to Mars, and while she is meeting the crew there and feeling homesick, these feelings and emotions really start to surface, and we follow Anna as she kind of discusses these things and talks about these things, which you very rarely see in fiction, let alone in science fiction and fantasy. So that was an element that I really enjoyed, and I certainly think, again, Emma Newman just completely opens her soul in this book, and she does talk about the fact that lots of these issues are very close to her heart. They're things that she has a kinship with, and that she went through similar things when she had her children. And it's something that I just think is really personal and very raw, and you can feel that as you're reading the story. Again, the story itself is really fun. So we have a mystery element. When Anna arrives in space on Mars, she finds a note which is painted in her own style. Remember, she's an artist, and it's completely hers, definitely genuine, and it just says, "Don't trust this person." And she knows this person. It's the person who's been showing her around when she's arrived and supposedly works there. And she doesn't know why or how she could possibly have left a note for herself in her own hand telling her not to trust someone. It doesn't make any sense. There's a big mystery there. And again, she is very confused about not only her own emotional issues, but also the fact that this is there. Why? How? So we follow her as she investigates. She investigates around the base, and she also speaks to some of her family back home, and she tries to piece everything together and find out exactly what and why everything has gone very wrong. As a reader, I completely sympathise with Anna and her predicament. It was so baffling and very much heart-wrenching to hear about her story and the way she felt. But again, as I said, it was beautiful and honest, and I loved that about Emma Newman's writing. I would thoroughly recommend this series. Every book in it has been fantastic, and this one is my favourite in the series so far. I gave this a solid 5 stars. I just could not fault it. I loved it. So I thoroughly recommend them both. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you've read any of the Planetfall books or any of Emma Newman's other stuff as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye guys!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.